Moving on to chapter 7 of Parashat Land of Canaan in sefer Deuteronomy. It says, starting on verse 1, chapter 7, when Hashem your God will bring you to the land to which you come to possess it, and He, God, will thrust away many nations from before you, the Hittite, the Girgashite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations, greater and mightier than you. And Hashem your God will deliver them before you, and you will smite them. You shall utterly destroy them. You shall not seal a covenant with them, nor shall you show them favor. You shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son, and you shall not take his daughter for your son. For he will cause your child to turn away from after me, and they will worship the gods of others. Then Hashem, God, Hashem's wrath will burn against you, and he will destroy you quickly. Rather, so shall you do to them. Their altars shall you break apart, their pillars shall you smash, their sacred trees shall you cut down, and their carved images shall you burn in fire. So the verse starts in Hebrew, Ki yaviecha Adonai Elohecha el haaretz. So when Hashem your God, when He will bring you to the land, which means that this is His will, this is God's will. The Jewish people come to the land of Canaan in order to enter the land of Canaan, in order to inherit the land of Canaan, in order to possess it, in order to live in it, to settle and to build, obviously, the land. But there are 7 nations living there. There's the Hittite, Hachiti, Hagirgashi, the Girgashite, the Vahamori, the Amorite, the Canaani, the Canaanite, Haperizi, the Perizzite, Vahahivi, the Hivite, you will see Jebusite, who were in Jerusalem. Sheven goyim rabim va'atzumim mimecha. 7 nations, rabim, greater, as in a greater number of people, population-wise. Va'atzumim, that they are more powerful physically than you. Unatanam Adonai Elohecha lefanecha Vaki tam haharem taharim otam lo tichrot lahem brit velo tahanem. Unatam, means that God is delivering them, these 7 nations. Vahikitam, and you will defeat them. Even though they are bigger in number and more powerful than you, you will defeat them. God is actually the one doing the defeating. He's the one winning. And you shall utterly destroy them. It says, you shall not seal a covenant with them. A covenant, a deal. Velo tahanem, and don't show them any favor. These people, these 7 nations, they were idol worshippers, And their whole culture entailed performing acts that were disgusting to the land where they lived, because the land wanted to vomit them out, and what they were doing was also disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. But where it says, do not establish with them a covenant, we understand from this, because it's written in the Purushim, the explanation, Rashi says that Israel was forbidden to establish a covenant that would permit the Canaanites to remain in the land and continue to worship in idols. You couldn't have Am Yisrael in the land worshipping, obeying the laws of God, and another people who were worshipping idols. It was incompatible. But, however, it goes on to say, if the Canaanites agreed to stop their idolatry and accept the 7 Noahide laws, Israel was permitted to make peace treaties with them. The land of Israel has to be holy. If non-holy things are happening there, it's bad news. And it will not go unpunished. So in order for there not to be a chance that the Jewish people would continue in the ways of the Canaanites, etc., the 7 nations that were there, in order to make sure that the Jewish people wouldn't perpetuate what they were doing, wouldn't fall into their ways, the 7 nations had to go. They had to go. No deals could be done with them whatsoever. Because when there is a chance that a person can fall, he can fall. You've got to take measures and precautions to make sure it doesn't get to that stage. So these 7 nations had to go. And it was commanded. God commanded that they had to go. And all of the things that they were doing and that they believed in and that they worshipped had to be completely destroyed. As you can see by the words used, their altars you shall break apart, you shall take them to pieces. Their pillars you shall smash. Their sacred trees you shall cut down, you kill it. And their carved images you shall burn in fire. They're very strong words, but they emphasize the need to completely remove and destroy all of these practices that were being perpetuated on this land that was supposed to be holy and became holy when the Jewish people entered into this land. So we are still in chapter 7, and the reading goes on. We've just read up to chapter 7 verse 5. Now we're going on to chapter 7 verse 6. And it says, for you are a holy people to Hashem your God. Hashem your God has chosen you to be for him a treasured people above all the peoples that are on the face of the earth. Not because you are more numerous than all the peoples did Hashem desire you and choose you, for you are the fewest of all the peoples. Rather, because of Hashem's love for you, and because he observes the oath that he swore to your forefathers, the forefathers being Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, did he, God, take you out with a strong hand and redeem you from the house of slavery, from the hand of Paro, king of Egypt. So we see here that, again, it's stating that Hashem the God, He made an oath with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and this oath had to be fulfilled. And the oath, part of the oath was that the land of Canaan would be given to the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Jewish people. And only the Jewish people, because the Jewish people were given the Torah on Mount Sinai, which is basically the will of God, what He wants from us, how He wants us to be, where He wants us to live, and what He wants us to do there. The laws, some of the laws that were given concern the land of Israel, as in the laws of agriculture, etc. These are laws that are only applicable to the land of Israel and can only be performed in the land of Israel, in Eretz Yisrael. The exodus from Egypt, of Hashem bringing Am Yisrael out of Egypt with the 10 plagues that are performed in Egypt, is quite difficult to fathom the greatness of what happened. It's mind-boggling what happened. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime, as in the Earth's life event, as were a few things that happened to the Jewish people, Am Yisrael. Because it says something a little bit earlier on, in chapter 4, verse 32, it says, "For inquire now regarding the early days that preceded you, from the day when God created man on earth. And from one end of heaven to the other end of heaven, has there ever been anything like this great thing, or has anything like it been heard?" This is referring to the giving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. It says, "Has a people ever heard the voice of God speaking from the midst of fire, as you have heard and survived? Has any other people, nation, collectively, all of them, heard the voice of God and survived? Even made a claim, a whole people? Has it ever happened? No, only once, to the Jewish people. Or has any God ever miraculously come to take for himself a nation from amidst another nation, with challenges, with signs and wonders, and with war, and with a strong hand, and with an outstretched arm, and with greatly awesome deeds, such as everything that Hashem your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? You have been shown in order to know that Hashem, He is the God, and there is none beside Him." So all of the gods that different peoples in the world believe in, has any of their gods ever came and performed miracles for them, taken them out from one group, if they were subjected under one group of people? Has any God come to take one group of people from another with miraculous signs that show His complete control over everything, nature, the human body, insects, animals, the weather, life and death? Has any God done this? Only one, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is the God, and there is none beside Him. His Torah is one and the only truth.